Good afternoon, everyone. I'm CommerceNext co-founder Veronika Sonsev. And for those that are new, CommerceNext is a community event series and conference for marketers at retail and direct-to-consumer brands. On behalf of my fellow co-founders, Scott Silverman and Alan Dick, I want to welcome you to today's webinar. We have a really exciting topic today. It's storytelling with video for a deeper customer engagement. Video has become an important element of e-commerce and marketing. Not only does video help a company convey the brand story, but it also builds social proof and brings products to life. So it is no surprise that retailers and direct-to-consumer brands are using video throughout the customer journey, from acquisition to customer service. So we're going to spend about an hour going deep on video, but before we do, I want to walk through a few housekeeping items. So first, I want to thank Oracle Sauce Video. They have a unique platform for video creation, and I've personally enjoyed working with them on this webinar. I also want to thank our amazing speakers, Steve Bontempo, Chief E-commerce and Digital Officer at Comoto Group, which owns Revzilla, Sarah Henry, Head of Content and Influencer Marketing at Walmart, and Priya Shah, co-founder of Oracle Sauce Video. They are doing some really, really cool things when it comes to video, and I think you're all going to learn a lot from their experience. And of course, as a small token of our appreciation, our speakers today will be receiving thank you gifts from our gifting partner, GiftNow. And finally, we want to thank you, our audience, for tuning in. 5 lucky viewers who are viewing live will be randomly chosen to receive a gift from GiftNow as well. So I want to walk through a few things that we have coming up at CommerceNext. Our next webinar is on winning the inbox, reviving open rates in a crowded email world. This is definitely an important topic, something I think most businesses struggle with, including our own. So joining us for this session are Swell, Healthy Commerce, and CarParts.com. If you're interested in tuning in, it's on Wednesday, June 23rd, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific time, and you can register at bit.ly/CNWeb42. We're also starting to announce speakers for the upcoming CommerceNext IRL Summit that's taking place September 28th and 29th at the New York Hilton Midtown. Initial speakers include execs from Tapestry, e.l.f. Beauty, Everlane, Universal Standard, Lemonade, and much more. Go to commercenext.com to register. And we announced this previously, but in case you missed it, CommerceNext has a brand new podcast, Conversations with CommerceNext, which is presented by Wunderkind. The podcast leans into career lessons in addition to our traditional marketing topics. And our first episode is absolutely amazing. It features Purple CEO Joe Megabo, where he discusses lessons learned from Purple's turnaround. You can find Conversations with CommerceNext wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. And last but not least, I would be remiss if I didn't remind you that CommerceNext is a pretty amazing YouTube channel. You can find all of our past webinars, as well as our virtual summits, and even our live sessions. That's available at youtube.com/CommerceNext. Check it out. Make sure to subscribe so you get updates as we add video to the channel. So I'm going to quickly go through housekeeping items. For those who've tuned in previously, you know you don't have to worry if you miss anything. We do make the videos available the next day. It's going to be available here on Big Marker tomorrow and then on our YouTube channel 2 weeks later. And I'm just going to take a moment to show everyone where things are on the screen. So first of all of the interaction happens in that right-hand panel. There you'll see chat, Q&A, polls, and handouts. We want you to use chat to give our speakers high fives, to interact with other audience members. But if you have a question, we encourage you to use the Q&A tab. Of course, you can also ask a question privately by emailing Alan@CommerceNext. But if you're comfortable asking the question publicly, just go to Q&A. You can enter the question in the bottom. And then the benefit of the Q&A is that we can also upvote questions. And that helps us prioritize which questions are most important to our audience and which questions we should ask our speakers. If you're interested in the handouts, so Priya's presentation about video storytelling, it can be found under the handouts section. And then if you're watching this on replay later, that handout is available at the bottom of your player. So our agenda for today is a presentation on storytelling with video by Priya Shah from Oracle Sauce Video. Then you get a chance to kind of share your perspective with our audience polls. And then we'll have a panel discussion with Walmart, Comoto Group, and Sauce Video. So with that, I am excited to turn the stage over to Priya Shah. Priya was one of the co-founders of Sauce Video before they were acquired by Oracle. Priya, welcome to the virtual stage.
Thanks, Veronika. Great to be here today. So yeah, to introduce myself, my name's Priya, and I was one of the co-founders of Oracle Sauce Video, where I led the sales and marketing side of things. We joined the Oracle family last year, and were acquired into Oracle's content management platform. So there, I lead the go-to-market for Sauce Video. So yeah, excited to be here with you today and share our insights into video. So just a quick high level on what we do. Sauce Video is a cloud-based video creation and collaboration platform. Our platform enables brands to create video in a really fast, easy way, really designed for smartphone video creation, and for you to collaborate with your communities and create authentic video content with your teams or your customers and fans. So yeah, you can find out a bit more by going to the web links and also sign up for a free demo. So let's start off with a few kind of stats that I found that were really interesting to me. I'm sure you guys are on this webinar and you're obviously interested in video, and I'm sure you all know that it's a really highly engaging format for communication within e-commerce. It's rich in information and can really evoke emotion in a customer, and having video has proven to increase the chance that someone is going to purchase a product. Now, they could have watched a video on your social channels, which then led them to land on your website, or perhaps they're already browsing on your site and they want to find out more product info. Video can really help here to entice, engage, and inspire across the customer buying journey. And there's lots of types of videos that can increase the conversion rate. And we'll go into that a bit later. One stat that I found really interesting was the one that's on the screen by Google, which says 55% of shoppers say they use video when purchasing in a physical store. Accessibility and searchability of video content is now so fast and easy that shoppers can be watching content even when they're walking down the aisle. So I realize that I do this too. When I'm at the supermarket, I might quickly scan through a recipe video to find out the ingredients. Or maybe if I'm thinking about purchasing a consumer product, I might look up a review quickly on my phone. So I'm sure you can think of some ways in which not only you've used this too, but I just found that really interesting that as well as creating video content for online, all of that content can also be repurposed and is accessible for people when they're shopping offline as well. So if we just delve a little bit deeper, there's a study by Comoto which shows how video affects the purchasing decisions of online shoppers. It's really leveling the playing field for big and small businesses. So even if you're a small business and you're up against competitors, having helpful product videos on your product description pages could be the final factor in influencing a shopper to buy for you. And the important thing here is that it doesn't necessarily have to be a premium, highly produced, flashy video. Even a simple video that you've created using your smartphone could help that person make that decision, find out more information, and ultimately win the sale. So the stat at the bottom, 58% of consumers trust brands with more video, tells us that video can really build brand loyalty and trust. And one trend that's really taken off in the last few years is user-generated content. So putting out video that includes your community, so those that are most loyal, your customers, employees, fans, is a really highly effective strategy because it's less staged and less salesy. And I think people are quite tired of being salty now. So incorporating UGC in your marketing, especially video, can have a really positive effect on trust and loyalty and ultimately sales. So, the trends that we've seen in e-commerce, I'm sure you're all aware of. Some of these things, they all require more content and they all require more video. So it's across the board. Everything is turning more visual nowadays. People want to be inspired through all touch points and through all channels where they're consuming content. And so the need for creating video is just getting bigger and bigger. So if we just talk about how brands are creating video, typically video has been created by a video team or a content team within a brand, and it's deemed as expensive to create, and that's because there are a lot of costs to creating video in the traditional way, like having expensive equipment, flying people around the world, and the time it takes to produce a video in post-production with editing. But actually what we're seeing now is that video creation methods are changing and they're really adapting. So we all have smartphone cameras now that we carry around in our pockets, and these are really great devices for capturing video, even for editing video. And it's really changing the way that e-commerce brands can create. So moving from a kind of slow, more expensive, staged way of producing content to a much more agile and scalable way. That's not to say that there's no place for professional, highly produced content. There definitely is. But with the volume of video content that you need to now create across all those channels and touch points, you need to scale that up. And one great way of doing that is to use smartphone devices and use your community to actually produce that video content with you. So there's many types of videos that you can create across the customer journey, and I'm sure you do a lot of these already. So all the way from the discovery phase, when someone's discovering your brand, visiting your website, to the purchase, and then also after the purchase. So customer service videos, tutorial videos, those sorts of things. And there's lots of opportunities here to really engage with your customer and bring them into your brand along that whole journey. So when it comes to creating video, nowadays people are engaged with short form, authentic content. Everyone is really time poor. Everyone is consuming on multiple devices, on their phones. And so keeping it, your video content really short, really relevant to your audience that you're trying to reach, and keeping it authentic, and some of the ways that you're going to engage your audience better across those touch points. So just a couple of brands that are creating really cool videos that I want to showcase. So one of them is Walmart, and they do lots and lots of video content. So I'm just going to switch screen here. So one of the videos that I really liked was how to choose sunscreen. And this video really stood out to me because they're using their own employees to make this series of videos. They're really authentic and they're very simply produced. It's produced by the employee or captured by the employee, and then just some simple branding added on top. And it's a really authentic way to I suppose feature your products that you're selling in a non-salesy way. Give your viewers some value in teaching them more about the products. And then also they've got all the links to their products in the product description. So you can go straight to their website from there and make your choice. And another example is RAI, the outdoor company. They use videos a lot on their product description pages. So if we take this Osprey bag, in the gallery, they've got a really nice short video that demos the bag and all the features. So this really replicates the in-store experience. So it feels like you're talking to an expert on the bag as they take you through all the different features. And I thought this is a really nice way to get a lot more detailed information. So just remember, if you are selling other brands as well on your website, you can leverage the content that they're producing at the same time. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel, and you can put a lot of the video content that already exists out there onto your websites too. So how do we help? So the Oracle Source Video platform removes a lot of the barriers there are to creating video content in e-commerce. We enable you to collaborate with your teams through a cloud-based platform and create authentic video with your customers, with your employees, and your fans. And how do we do this? It's like a three-step process. So in our platform, you can create a project and invite your community to join that video project, and they can follow your shot list that you've written out like a storyboard and shoot their video content using their smartphone cameras. It's all uploaded into the platform through our mobile apps. So you can then review all of those videos in one place and curate them. And it's collaborative, so you can do this across the world with your teams. And once you've reviewed them, we have editing tools in the cloud where you can edit and share your final videos. So we're just making video content creation really, really easy and much more scalable for our clients. So thanks for listening. You can try out Source today. You can go to our website and register for a free account and check it out. But yeah, if you'd like more information, please do get in touch. Thanks.
Awesome, Priya. Thank you so much. That was a great presentation and a good kind of overview on what's possible with video. And we're already starting to get amazing audience questions. But before we start the panel and ask your questions, we're going to ask you questions from our polls. So this is your opportunity to weigh in. Let me just go back here. And a reminder for folks that are new, if you want to track the results of the polls, you just go to polls and then go to the close tab, and then you can see the results of the polls live. So our first question is, where are you currently using video? And this is a select all that apply question. Your choices are social media, digital advertising, TV advertising, email, e-commerce site, and customer service. Realizing this is not completely inclusive list, I thought this would give us a good kind of perspective on how much everyone is using video. So the question again is, where are you currently using video? Social media, digital advertising, TV advertising, email, e-commerce site, and customer service. I love it. A lot of you guys are using video and across a lot of different platforms. It seems like the majority are using it in digital advertising and in social media, so that's great. And a lot of people are using it on e-commerce sites. So what I'm seeing right now, and again, if you go to polls open, you'll see the results. Social media, about 32% of you are using video and social media, 23% in digital advertising, about 12% in email, and 24% in e-commerce. And I think the other channels, TV, and customer service are less used by this group. So we'll close that out and go to the next question. And this is a really simple one. Would you like to use more video content in e-commerce and marketing? And the answer options are yes or no. And I'm guessing, partially if you're on this webinar and listening, you're interested in using more video. So would love to get your perspective on whether you are looking to use more video in your e-commerce and marketing. This one is coming out to be a unanimous question. Maybe I led the audience too much with this one, but it seems like everyone wants to use more video in e-commerce and marketing. But I guess that's also self-selected based on who is joining us for this webinar. So now we'll close this out. We'll go to the last question, which is, how are you producing your video content? And I know in the chat, I see people kind of mentioning UGC as one of the ways that they're producing content. I have 3 options here, plus an other. So do you script, cast, and shoot the video with a film crew, whether it's in-house or a partner? Do you have employees use a mobile device to capture video? And I know sometimes that happens simultaneously while video is being shot with a film crew to get some other perspective. And then do you use ambassadors or influencers to create video and other? And we would love to see if you're doing anything else, like describe what you're doing in the chat for the benefit of everyone else. So how are you producing your video content? Scripting, casting, and shooting the video with a film crew, employees with mobile devices, ambassadors and or influencers, or other. Very interesting results coming in here. So it's almost, it could be the same folks because you can select all that apply. It looks like 33% of you are scripting and shooting the video with the film crew. About 27% are using mobile devices, employees with mobile devices, and 28% are using ambassadors. And about 12% have some other way that they're capturing video. So we'll have to look in the chat and see what you guys are doing. Oh, it looks like editing stock video. That would be a good option too, as that we didn't kind of consider in the polls. But awesome, thank you so much. We'll close out that question. The next question relates to next week's webinar, which is about winning the inbox, reviving open rates in a crowded email world. So the question is, how concerned is your company with email delivery? Very concerned, somewhat concerned, or not very concerned. Again, the question is, how concerned is your company with email delivery? Very concerned, somewhat concerned, or not very concerned. And we'll look for your answers here. All right, awesome. It looks like, it seems like it's mostly split between very concerned and somewhat concerned. I think a few folks are not very concerned, but it definitely, I think, has been a challenge that a lot of us have struggled with, especially given kind of the changes to the inbox. So we can close that question out and let's move into the panel discussion. I'm excited to bring on stage, bring Priya back, as well as Steve and Sarah. Welcome. Now is the fun part. We get to go into the discussion. So Sarah and Steve, since you're just joining us on stage here, we're excited to bring you in the conversation. I want to have you introduce yourselves and your role in your respective companies, and we'll kind of do ladies first. Sarah, if you want to start off, and then we'll go to Steve.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Veronika and team. Really excited to be here and appreciate the opportunity. So I'm Sarah Henry. Hey, everybody. I lead content and influencer marketing for Walmart, and I think everybody knows who Walmart is probably, but I think our, sort of this content and influencer area and, efforts across content and social commerce is really about utilizing storytelling, authentic, relatable voices, and highly engaged communities to drive brand equity, consideration, and conversion for Walmart. And it's across the enterprise, so it includes a lot of different products, categories, and services. And so for us, it really is this interesting hybrid of kind of branding and performance marketing. So really, really interesting area to be, but excited to be here.
Awesome. Welcome. Steve?
Hi, I'm Steve Bontempo. I'm the Chief E-commerce and Digital Officer for Comoto. Comoto owns Revzilla, Cycle Gear, J&P Cycles, and our app called Rubber. It's motorcycle related and apparel parts and accessories. My responsibility is basically the sites, analytics, digital marketing and content and creative. I'm a father of 4, and I am a recent motorcyclist. Just got my license. But we are heavily in the video space. We create a ton of video. Since 2018, we've created over 7,000 hours of video, short, medium, long form. We use it across multiple platforms, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Well, we're thrilled both of you are joining us. When I was chatting with Priya, I said, both Sarah and Steve, their companies produce a ton of video. So there's a lot of conversation that we can have here. And maybe before we kind of dig into the specific uses, it would help if you guys could share how you're using video. I mean, obviously you can look at your YouTube channels. There's a lot of robust video content on there, but you're really using video throughout that customer journey. So if you could talk about that, Steve, maybe we'll just stay with you for a second and then go back to Sarah. How are you, you said 7,000 hours of video, where do they live?
They really live all over the place. They live on our site. They live in YouTube. They live on all of the social media platforms. And we think about video really in a number of buckets. To editorialize, to inform, to educate, and to entertain. It was a commitment that the company made early on, and we'll talk about that as we get into some of the e-commerce specific pieces. But it fits really well into the enthusiast nature of our business. People who are into motorcycling are avids, they're enthusiasts, they have a passion about it, they want to consume video. It's a considered purchase, and it's a technical purchase. So having another resource out there, especially a video resource, is really helpful. And we also have 70% of our traffic coming in through mobile, and video just sits so well on mobile platforms, especially in a busy world when you don't have time to sit there and read something. You can listen to it and watch it as you're doing other things. It's a great medium for us.
Awesome. That makes a lot of sense. Sarah, how about you?
Yeah, sure. So, similar to what Steve said, I mean, video for us ranges a number of different, places and capacities along the customer journey. And it's used also to educate, to entertain, to connect with communities, and also to drive engagement and consideration, and ultimately, sort of purchase across products, services like pickup and delivery, things like that. And so for us, it spans the gamut. It's, it's both long form and short form, both highly produced and also UGC, and can talk a little bit more about that. And it lives everywhere. It's across our social channels, both, our brand social handles and associate networks, lives across our own sites. And that includes, both digital properties and also to enhance the store experience, which is really interesting, across paid advertising, like a lot of other folks, it sounds like, who are listening in. So for us, that includes things like not only linear and OTT and streaming, but also digital video, social, et cetera. And then one really interesting one for us is we've been experimenting with video, not even experimenting, we've really been scaling out our video efforts across how we think about the content and influencer space across things like editorial, shoppable and branded video content, how our influencers and creators use video. And also, in this world of increasingly sort of content and social commerce efforts. And that's a really interesting one where we're really tapping into where consumers are finding, sort of points of inspiration or entertainment, and really finding ways to seamlessly link that to purchase and making that inspiration a reality, and how video sort of plays along that across the way.
That's amazing. And it makes a lot of sense, right? Because everywhere, consumers are interacting with video at this point, everywhere that they're browsing, and then, it just continues down that journey. Priya, I think Sarah and Steve gave a few examples of how they're using video. Are you seeing any other kind of unique examples from your clients that you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think, some really interesting ways is in the post-purchase, so in customer service and customer engagement. And especially as it's been really challenging over the last, couple of years because of the pandemic to create video. I've seen some really interesting content come out of some brands that are really trying to humanize that. When delivery times have gone out of the window and supply chains are totally messed up, they really use their employees to capture the video and create kind of authentic content to share. intel and information, up-to-date information as well with their customers. So that's really been quite interesting, and maybe brands hadn't done that before. So that's something that's good that's come out of the last year.
Yeah, definitely makes sense that when you have a problem, humanizing it helps kind of relieve some of that pressure. So I can see brands doing that. Sarah, you mentioned social media, and I want to double click on that for a moment. Obviously, our audience also said that they use a lot of video on social and in digital advertising. Can you talk about how video plays into your overall marketing strategy, and how it relates maybe to like brand and performance marketing as well? I know you said it spans the gamut of both.
It does, yeah. And I would say it's interesting. We sort of, and my team has sort of one foot in how we think about brand marketing and one in performance. And, it's a little bit of a hybrid, but I think video, largely across the enterprise plays a role in both, depending on what we're doing. I'd say related to social specifically, there's a couple different strategic ways in for us. One of them I sort of alluded to in the last question, which was really what we're doing is tapping into why audiences are going, to different social media platforms. How are they using TikTok maybe differently than something like YouTube or Snapchat? And then how do we really tap into what they're already doing and find ways to solution around that? So that could be around, maybe they're going to TikTok and they're really just looking for like binge watching short form content, like my 3-year-old, which I probably shouldn't admit on this call. But how do we sort of tap into what they're doing and maybe spark inspiration in moments of content-rich discovery. So we're really playing there. I'd say the other places in moments of intent, that could exist on Pinterest or other places. How are we really tapping into where they're finding that inspiration, why they're finding that inspiration, whether it's getting dinner on the table or refreshing their outdoor space or whatever it is, and really finding ways to seamlessly translate that into reality. And a lot of times that doesn't come in the form of like an editorial article or a paid ad or anything like that. It's really sort of making that translation through video. I'd say the other, the other things that we sort of leverage and utilize are our brand social channels and, how we really engage with our community. That's another strategic ways in, and how we really connect communities together across social. We also, Priya showed an example of this, but we also do a lot of how-tos. One that was particularly successful for us, from just like an education perspective was in the early days of the pandemic when we were all at a grinding halt and everybody was trying to figure out how to put 21 meals on the table instead of maybe 10 or 12 or whatever they were used to. And maybe a little bit, hesitant about walking into a store. We created a how-to video around how to use curbside pickup and delivery, not conversion focused, really just focused around, how do you make the translation from walking into a store to, really, saving time and maybe a little bit of fear in, being able to get your groceries curbside or delivered from your local store. And then, I'd say the last piece is really just leveraging influencer content and sort of UGC and third-party voices to really tell, their story about a particular service or product through video in a way that's really going to resonate with their, sort of highly engaged audiences.
Got it. And just to clarify for the benefit of the audience, it's not just the UGC that they produce in their own channels, but you're also getting permission and incorporating the UGC into your media as well, or your video marketing as well.
We do, yeah. So, we use influencers to, of course, tell their own story to, Priya mentioned this earlier, but, really having an authentic and relatable voice is important for us. And so having, maybe a busy mom on Instagram talk about, how she's saving time and stress tax and sanity by using curbside pickup and delivery or Walmart Plus or something, that is something that's really meaningful because it's actually it's real. It's something that we all live every day. And so, we have influencers sort of posting across their own handles and platforms. But then to your point, we're also syndicating that content across different parts of our digital properties. And that could look like, pages on our site, like category pages. It could be PDPs. It could also be in store. We also integrate it there.
Awesome. Now, Steve, I want to turn to you because I know you're also doing a lot in social. So and just generally with video across the board, how are you viewing video in marketing? Is it primarily a branding or a performance vehicle for you?
It's both. I would say primarily branding, though. I mean, we have our own content brand. It's called Common Shred. So over time, what we've created both on the video and the non-video side has essentially become its own media outlet. I mean, Common Shred is essentially a network unto itself for people in the industry. It's really relied upon for an honest opinion on what's going on, and not just specific to the products that we sell, but specific to the industry in general. Like we review motorcycles, we compare motorcycles, we talk about how to go in and buy your first motorcycle, different places to ride, and people who are into this sport are really they engage with this at a really high level. That's why we're close to almost 1.5 million in YouTube and social media followers at this point. And I would say the other piece of it is we make the content very interesting too. And one of the things that I would say, if you can find a way to create series-based content, so content that will be released the same time each week on an interesting topic, that is a really good way to get engagement, especially if it's things people care about. We have our own internal media hosts, and we all do, or they all do, different types of series on a weekly basis. We do something called the shop manual, where we tackle a different technical thing that people would have to work on their bikes, and each week you can come and see something new. We have something called the Daily Rider, where one of our media hosts, Zach, he takes a different bike out almost every single week, and he'll spend a half hour on camera riding the bike, telling you about how it's performing, the nuances of it, and it's really, really cool, engaging content that people want to come back and see on a weekly basis.
And Steve, that makes a lot of sense, because I feel like, with the buy-in guides, you capture people in the beginning of that customer journey of deciding what bike they want, but then all of the how to use kind of content keeps them with you even past that and helps improve retention. Because I'm assuming, I don't know, maybe motorcycle collectors buy multiple bikes, but I'm assuming it's spaced out over time, but it's really all the accessories and other things, and kind of keeping that relationship active to be that resource for them, as they're further down that customer journey.
Yeah, and it's all about the life cycle, right? We in the last 18 months we've had a ton of new people who've come into our ecosystem, who've come into riding, and they need content for the basics. And then you have on our J&P cycle side, you have Harley riders who've been riding for 35 years and they wrench on their bikes all the time. And we have a what we call the build up series that it's perfect for those seasoned mechanics. It's content that resonates with them. It's helpful to them with a host who's an expert in the space.
Awesome. Just such great examples. I'm going to weave in a few audience questions, because we're getting a lot of questions, which is great, and I want to get a chance to answer them. One of the questions that came in early was from Mary Voss, and she asked about the increased use of QR codes during the pandemic. So I think she's referring to the way that we've been using them at restaurants. And would you recommend using QR codes in video, to a video, in print or in direct mail, or I guess more broadly in any marketing, marketing? Sorry, Sarah, I'll direct that to you.
Yeah, sure. It's a good one. And as a focus group of one, I can attest to the fact that I've probably used a QR code more in the last year than I've used in my entire life. So I definitely appreciate that question, all in relation to menus though. I would say, we've been having a lot of success in sort of revisiting and testing QR codes in shoppable media, and specifically in probably less print and direct mail, but more, from my purview, more around, branded and shoppable TV and video. And so I'm thinking of one example in particular. We partnered with Tastemade on a show called Struggle Meals that airs across their OTT streaming and also digitally. It also was on Facebook, Instagram Live, but this was during the holidays. And it was all about hacking the holidays in terms of celebrating differently. It's probably not as many people as maybe you're used to cooking for, maybe an emphasis on things like, hacking through the holidays in terms of prepared foods, less people, more budgetary, considerations. And so within that show, and within the video itself, there were, sort of Walmart products, and the recipes themselves were ones that we had crafted with Tastemade. But the point is, it was really a way for people to use a QR code to get the ingredients worth of those recipes seamlessly sent to their pickup and delivery carts through Walmart in just a few clicks. And I will say, in a world where we've tested into that pretty extensively, the results that we saw were pretty compelling, and it would suggest that, the engagement and sort of shop intent of people using that was sort of more pervasive than maybe it has been in the past historically.
Awesome. Thank you. And Priya, I know you mentioned the stat about people watching the videos in store. Have you seen any other kind of implementations that trigger that, or is it just mostly people are just searching for them on their phone?
Yeah, I think everyone's got their phone out when they're shopping these days, right? So that would be the number one. But yeah, we've seen like QR codes in store on point of sale systems, that can then take you to a how-to guide, a much more description, like maybe a landing page which has some video content on it, that really goes into like features, maybe for like a consumer electronics, things like that, where you need to do a bit more research before you purchase that product. So I think we're seeing, more and more of that.
Awesome. So to kind of dig deeper into the use of video, we've talked about marketing. I want to kind of move into e-commerce a bit. Steve, I know you have a ton of video embedded on your e-commerce site. There's buying guides, there's video on your product detail page. Can you talk about your strategy for video in your e-commerce experience?
Yeah, we have video on virtually every product, and the large majority of them are videos that we produce in-house. This was part of the company DNA back when the founders started the company. Anthony Bucchi, who was one of the founders, would create these video reviews of the products on his own for hundreds and hundreds of products. And the interesting thing about them were they were honest, they were raw, they were critical. They were critical of the products that we sold. So I think what happened was it created a sense of street cred. I mean, he had real credibility, and then people started to see it and follow the reviews and the products that we did, and that morphed into how-tos and expanded well beyond product, and you could start to see the momentum gaining in the business. And then it morphed into these very comprehensive buying guides that we release every year by category, and they are our experts in the space, and our media leads go over all the products out there, and then we come up with essentially like a top 10 in all these different categories and produce really good video explaining why we made those picks. And it's the same kind of authenticity and honesty that customers expect. And the other piece is all of our media leads are experts in writing. They've been doing it for a long time, and they have gained such a following. They're almost like internal influencers. They were kind of influencers in the space before they got to us, and it really, really resonates with both our buyers and even people who are just consuming us for the media part of what we do.
And I think that example is really applicable to a lot of different companies, because a lot of folks are selling kind of passion products. And when you have kind of passion products, the most authentic storytellers around those products are the people who use them and who are already kind of in the space and engaged with those products and are credible experts. It's really cool. Sarah, anything else you want to add? I know you guys are also using video on your product detail pages and in some aspects of your e-commerce business, like educating people on curbside and buy online, pick up in store. Do you want to add kind of to what Steve said?
Yeah, totally. I mentioned the pickup and delivery instance. I would say for us, e-commerce includes, the traditional, like how we think about video and content across our digital properties that Walmart owns, but increasingly we're playing into this content commerce space where it's really about how do you bring the e-commerce experience to where people already are, and how and where, can Walmart sort of partner strategically with content-rich hubs to do that. I'd say in terms of, our own digital properties, we've been experimenting a lot with actually interactive video. So this is more around the idea of like, if you're searching for, I'll use the example of a vacuum cleaner because I just literally did this a couple of weekends ago. It's amazing how long vacuum cleaners last, but we finally needed a new one. But in the case of searching for something like that, I think it's hard to walk into a store and see something in a box and know, how it's actually going to work. Same thing with digitally. I think we've all sort of experienced. And so the intent behind these interactive videos is to be able to enable you and empower you to sort of interact with the product in a way that sort of lets you choose, how you interact with it, but also has like a bit of an AR VR component to it as well. So you can kind of get like a look and feel of it beyond a picture. And so it lets you interact with the different attributes. You can, in the case of the vacuum cleaner, you can like pull out the nozzle and look at it and see how long it is in comparison to the rest of the thing. And it's not just vacuum cleaners, it's on a bunch of different products, but having some success there so that it's not just a digital play. It's not just like look at it digitally and buy it digitally. It's also giving you the tools you need so that you can seamlessly sort of walk into store and get in and out, knowing that you already have confidence in that product. I'd say the other place is really, from I mentioned the content commerce aspect, a version of that exact, interactive video actually lives on Pinterest. And so on Walmart on Pinterest, there's the, sort of permutation of that across a bunch of different products. And then I'd say we're increasingly, bringing the world of kind of shoppable video and just general video to where people are actually showing intent or inspiration. And we do consider that, e-commerce, the checkout sometimes will live on a third-party partner site or sometimes on Walmart, but the linkage is really bringing it back to that sort of e-commerce component and seamless purchase.
Very cool. I'm going to weave in one more audience question right now because we were planning to cover it later, but it's been upvoted a lot. Alex Baker asked, what analytics and KPIs are most important when evaluating video performance? Steve, do you want to take that first? What analytics and KPIs do you guys look at?
There's different ones for different pieces. Like for the internal videos on site, it's all around testing. So we'll test and control against video or PDP with video, without, and just video use on the site in general. So we're looking for increased conversion. We're looking for a larger AOV, and we're looking for more session time on the site. All of those metrics are materially better when you have a video versus when you don't have a video. For external and marketing and branding, we look at the lifetime value of folks that come into us from YouTube. And again, the lifetime value of someone who comes in from external video that we syndicate is they're actually our highest lifetime value and our highest repeat purchasers too. Wow,
that's amazing. Sarah, any other metrics you want to add to that you guys look at?
Yeah, sure. That's super interesting, Steve. The other, I'd say the ones that we look at are, from a branding and community perspective, particularly as we think about, video within how our associates and how we use it across our own social channels. A lot of it is around actually sentiment and, engagement with that particular video. Time spent is also really important to us from a branding perspective of, how folks are, and it's like the indicator of how folks are, actually connecting with that video and by respect to their community. I'd say from an overall, like if we're talking about marketing and content and things like that, it does include engagement-based KPIs like time spent, but it also includes things like whether that particular audience took an action and if they showed any sort of shop intent. So it doesn't necessarily need to be purchase or conversion or anything like that, but it's really around like, did that particular video, particularly in the case of where you're sparking kind of impulse or inspiration, did it actually result in somebody taking the next step, whether that's a click or, a learn more or shopping on clicking on a shoppable tile or something like that.
Got it.
And I think conversion is also a big one for us. I mean, at the end of the day, it really is about like, did we sort of sequentially pull someone through the funnel to the point where they are now signing up for something like pickup and delivery or trying it for the first time or, trying a particular product.
And to measure that conversion, are you also looking at LTV from the different types of videos that they come in from? Very interesting. I want to make sure we get a chance to talk about video creation. I'm going to kind of keep weaving in audience questions because there was a question here from Lisa Levia, and she asked if there's any guidance on video length. And I'm guessing that somewhat depends on where you're using the video, but any kind of broad guidelines that you guys can offer, Lisa? Sarah, do you want to take that one first?
Sure. I mean, gosh, I don't mean to overgeneralize, but I think, based on, sort of how we use video and how we talk to our audiences tend to like shorter, shorter, stronger messages. I think a lot of that has to do with the proxy or the vehicle that they're sort of, finding inspiration or entertainment on. I would say TikTok is probably a short form video play. But I would say generally, even if you span the gamut, probably, shorter is better. And, again, getting your message across early is important.
And Steve, I'm assuming the buying guides are probably a little bit of a longer form video content, right?
Yeah, the buying guides, the series, a lot of our reviews are even longer form. And it's really, it depends on how immersive the content is. So we have a lot of short form that we go out into Insta and some of the social platforms on. If it's a quick hit on a product, or if it's a sale, or if we want to plug an event, or we'll push the series through a shorter form video to get them into the more immersive video. But there's definitely, because of the enthusiast nature of our customer, it's okay to have longer form, and they engage with it, and they stick with it, because it's the other thing, just a call out to the people that produce our videos. They're amazing, right? So when you have people, they are essentially personalities in and of themselves, and people like them. They interact with them all the time and engage with the content. So when you have that, you have great immersive content that people care about and want to do, then the length isn't as much of an issue.
Awesome. And Steve, I'm going to stay with you for a second, because we're talking about video creation, and you mentioned the folks that create your video. Are most of your videos shot in-house with scripted and shot with film crews, or are you also using like mobile video and ambassadors and influencers?
We do use influencers externally, but we actually don't try to mess with their content, because we find the good thing about an influencer is if they're authentic. If you start to kind of steer them too much, then it doesn't turn out very well, we found. So we engage with them. We typically will give them things, and if they choose to review them, they review them, and if they choose to talk about how they like it, that's great. But the lion's share of what we produce is in-house, and it is a healthy combination of in studio. We do have a studio in our core home office, and then we do a ton on the road, on location. We use GoPro extensively, because it's such an amazing, especially for outdoor and action-based shooting. It's amazing. But we do both, and we do everything. We pre-produce and plan in-house with our teams, and then they do the actual shooting, and then all the post-production is done internally as well.
Awesome. Sarah, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, it spans the gamut. I would say we do a fair amount of highly produced content, for our campaign and ad work, and that typically, sort of runs across, whatever the channel and sort of partner mixes for that particular campaign. So think things like holiday, product launches, things like that. I would say the other places that we heavily not rely on, but the other places that we use are, really this whole spectrum of UGC, and that can come in the form of, associates creating content. It can be in the form of influencers creating content. We actually have a network of over 10,000 influencers, and that spans the range of, influencers with anywhere from a couple hundred followers across Instagram or Pinterest or TikTok on up to, mega and top talent, across those same platforms. And so the beauty of it is, to Steve's point, also it's really about, letting them kind of take the lead on how and what they produce and, create in their own voices and how that's going to resonate with their communities. But a lot of times we find that the message that they're telling is, is something that can resonate, more broadly than maybe just their core network.
Yep, absolutely. And especially given the diverse range of products that Walmart offers, it makes sense to have all of these diverse voices represent the various categories. Priya,
and it can come in a lot of forms too. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it can come in a lot of forms too. I mean, influencers is, it's the traditional creators across social networks, but I think for us, it also includes how we think about media partners. So working with partners like BuzzFeed Tasty or New York Times Wirecutter, or I think you could even, call an associate a creator. And so I think, for us, it's really about leveraging their voice, wherever their audiences are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Priya, I want to turn to you because, can you talk a little bit about how Oracle Sauce Video helps, your customers streamline that video creation process, since that's the crux of the solution you offer?
Yeah, absolutely. So really, our platform is about removing those barriers to creating video at scale. So those barriers could be budget, it could be the ability to collect content from lots of people, reviewing it all on the cloud at one time, and editing. And so we make those processes really simple so you can expand the amount of video you're creating. So whilst our technology really does follow what a professional video project would look like in terms of, storyboarding, capturing, editing, reviewing and editing, we've kind of modernized that a little bit and democratized it. So opened it out to a lot more people who aren't professional video creators, for them to come in and collaborate and be part of that creative process. So a couple of the things are our shot list feature. So as a social media or content creator within a brand, you can storyboard the video that you want to create. So you're kind of directing your creators on what to actually capture with their phones. So you're not just throwing it out there into the wild and saying, go film something and send it in. You are kind of directing it a little bit so you get that quality video content that you want, just that you would do with a professional video shoot. And then a lot of our editing tools and review tools have a lot of AI technology built into them to make those processes really fast and easy. So automatic captioning, really easy searchability from volumes and volumes of video files, all in the cloud. So typically those things take a long time and prevents people and brands from creating the amount of video content they want. So that's really where we're helping.
That's very cool. And I didn't even think about that you, just because it's UGC doesn't mean you can't storyboard. There's definitely opportunities to do both. We have a couple questions that I want to get in that relate to the e-commerce site, and two specifically. One from Melissa Godes is asking, how do you ensure that the video doesn't slow down the website, which I guess would be a concern for anybody running e-commerce based businesses. And the other one relating to that is from Lisa Leva, and she's asking the best platform or plugins to host and showcase video on the e-commerce site. Steve or Sarah, do you want to take those questions? Any recommendations?
I mean, on the slowness or speed side, I mean, I think it's just a matter of working with your technology group and whatever third-party injectors you're using to have video, especially on the mobile side, because you don't want it to slow down there. It's something that we're always looking at, but hopefully you have a team that can support you there.
Priya, any experience with this that you can add on to?
Yeah, I think using a good video delivery platform to be able to transcode the videos into the right format and ensure that it's streamed in the correct way for the person that's actually consuming the video is really important. So make sure you're using something like that. Actually, Oracle Content Management, we do glass-to-glass video, so not just the video creation, but also the hosting and delivery. So we look at all those things and to ensure that your websites aren't going to be slow, the video is going to play back quickly and efficiently for that person to get the best viewing experience and to keep them on your site.
Awesome. Well, time flies. We're almost out of time. For the final question, I really want to just ask, for anyone who is looking to get started or like, just kind of starting with video, any recommendations that you would offer? Let's go around and do a kind of a quick lightning round. Any recommendations for someone who's just getting started with video? And Priya, I'll start with you, and then I'll kind of move around.
If you're just getting started, start small. I know everyone's ambitious when it comes to designing their video strategies, but think about your audience and start small, and think about who you've got in your network and community that you can leverage, whether that's your teams, your customers for customer success stories, or influencers, because they're your best advocates at the end of the day.
Steve?
Yeah, I would say two quick things. One is try to understand what your customer wants or would like to see, and you can engage with surveys or any kind of research to understand the best way to enter in from a video standpoint. And then the second I would say is, content and creative are typically one group, commerce is another group. If you can have those groups really work together, plan together, which is one of the things that our groups have done and they're doing really well, it always winds up netting a better outcome.
Awesome. Sarah, you get the last parting words of wisdom.
Sure. I feel like those were such great answers already. I would say, just to add, I think, really being able to solution around what your customers and audiences are already doing and figure out how you can actually help them in that moment is one piece. Creating video for the sake of video probably isn't going to have the same result as something that can actually help them along their journey or educate or, entertain or spark a moment of impulse. So definitely something to think about there. And then the other piece maybe might sound a bit pedantic and process oriented, but not expecting, whatever you're doing to unlock, an exponential benefit overnight, and for it to be a silver bullet to your channel and partner mix, and your placement mix is really important too. Having a learning agenda that's really focused around how people are interacting with that video, and really about how they're getting to the next step, whatever that KPI or success benchmark you set out for yourself is really kind of the name of the game.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your words of wisdom. And Steve, Sarah, and Priya, thank you so much for just sharing all of your insights about video with our community today. For those watching us at home, thank you so much for joining. We're back next week with a webinar on winning the inbox, reviving open rates in a crowded email world. Until then, have a great week, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks. Bye.